We've got the rig up in the air, about to do a little work to it today. It is a beautiful 117,000 degrees outside, and we are out here. I got the brakes put on, and I got the fitting that I needed. There might be a video of this coming out before too long, but I got them on. I got this caliper loose, I got this caliper working, I got this caliper bled. This caliper over here though, we had a little issues with it. The bleeder screw is no longer a bleeder screw. It is now all sorts of goofed up. Couldn't get it out, heated it up, heated it some more, WD-40, tried all the tricks in the book, ended up rounding it off, put some vice grips on it, still didn't come out. So it looks like we're gonna have to buy a caliper. Kinda expected, but we do have somewhat brakes. It stopped, we pushed it around, and we used the brakes and it stopped, so that's cool. The clutch is in, it's kind of hard to see, it's in there. Not too sure how well it's going to work. With that being said, because the fuse panel, the factory fuse panel that's underneath there, which there are still the glass fuses, which probably need to go, but we cannot get it to sit where it needs to. The master cylinder for the clutch is right here, and we really need this about right here, right where this bulk connector is. I know it's kind of hard to see, but there's a bulk wiring connector right here. That's about where it needs to go, and it needs to be up a little higher from where it's at, like a couple inches and over a couple inches, to really make it work. But it's just, without doing all this, and I don't know if we have enough time for that just yet, but the clutch does move, the master does go all the way down, but being we couldn't get the master cylinder for the clutch, the master slave I guess you call it, up high enough, with the way levers and stuff like that work, we're not getting it up high enough, you know, just below the pivot point to get more throw out of it with less movement of the rod per se. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's even harder to see down there. I might try to get something set up and some good lights down there, but it is very challenging where it's at. So we got about 3 inches total of pedal movement, and that's, I feel like that's gonna make it, a 1/4 inch is gonna make a difference from this thing moving or sitting still basically. So I don't know if that'll be good for shifting faster or if it's gonna cause problems, but I think we're gonna try to run with it and figure it out. Worst comes to worst, we try to find a Turbo 400 for cheap, and a Turbo 400 bone stock will probably hold up to what we need to for a little while at least. I have an extra converter back there for it, but it all depends on if this works and how it works. So with that being said, I'm gonna get this fuel tank ripped out. We got to get some fuel lines. Dad's out here making some a template to block off that core support. So, well, I say core support, it's not a core support, correction, it is the firewall for the heater core. So we're gonna plug that hole up so we're not getting any extra heat in the cab, because I'm sure we're not gonna be driving this when it's cold, but it's gonna be hot, which the holes elsewhere, it don't matter. We're just gonna try to get a little bit of engine heat, not in the cab, in firewall area with us. So that's where we're working on. We're gonna get some camera set up. We're gonna do some work. So stay mindful. Fat Boy's shirt's definitely gonna be a different shade of blue when we're done with this. So stay tuned. Thanks. Got us a fancy little block off plate there. The master himself's been working on. We got the fuel tank out, cleaned up, and I cleaned up, of course, the major spot that really counts, the bottom. Yeah, it is a little rusty right here on the edges, but if it holds fuel, it holds fuel. So I'm not too worried about it. I mean, right now we're literally out $0. So if we put it in and it leaks, oh well. we can at least run less than half the tank of gas in it and it probably won't leak. So, or we can find some fancy JB Weld and run it down the seals. But I am very impressed with 1970s technology here. The old Craftsman screwdriver, little hammer, a little spinach trick right here, and the thing comes right out of there. So it's a little bit dirty, but yeah, it's fine. I'm impressed with how good a shape this O-ring is, honestly. I mean, it's not even really cracked or nothing. It's still like soft. It's not like it's ooey gooey, but it's nice and soft and sealable still. There's gonna be a little dust and dirt down in there, but it's completely empty. We dumped it all in there. I'm thinking about, honestly, I got a couple extra gallons of red diesel here from a skid loader at work that had dirt in the tank, so I brought it home to dump it on some logs and start fires with. So it's probably gonna do just fine to dump it in there and clean some crap out of it, and it'll get some of the sludge and stuff out of there if there is any, which I'm sure there isn't, but there's probably some dirt particles and stuff. I mean, Dad dumped fuel in this thing for 25 years, most likely ethanol free or stuff, because when fuel back in the old days and carburetors and stuff were popular. But I'm gonna get this cleaned up a little bit more. I've got a couple ideas, but I don't know how I'm gonna make this all work, so I'm not gonna tell you quite yet because I don't want to sound stupid. So I've got some ideas. I've got this cleaned up to bare metal, if that kind of tells you anything, but that's kind of the route I'm gonna try, but I don't know any dimensions yet until I pick it up and try it. So we're gonna see. But it's not very deep right here. That's another thing. I got to measure how deep the tank is itself to see what kind of thing I can make work. We are going to have to run a return line too, because this is the Gen 3 stuff, so we're going to have to run a return line back into here, which ain't a big deal. We could probably drill a hole and figure out a way to return it. Not a big deal. We might have to run a fancy regulator if we do try to get a lot of fuel, fuel flow out of this thing. We might have to regulate it down a little bit. Not too sure. I've got a 340 pump that I ordered for my other truck, but I was running a Corvette regulator, so that regulator wouldn't regulate it down, so I had to bump down to a 255, which is plenty. People say you can get 500 horse out of a 255 pump, so a 340 I'd assume you at least see 600 out of, and that's kind of the power range we're shooting for. But I've also got a lead on another style pump setup, and I got to figure out how I'm going to make all this work. So stay tuned. We got that going, we got this going. I'm going to spray it so it looks black. If it's painted you can't see the rust. So the engine is bolted in for good. We have got cross member bolted in for good. We made a plate right there, so it's shimmed up right, sitting right. It's got bolts in the transmission. We went ahead and painted everything we could get our hands on with the paint we had. We painted up in here. I mean, it just looks beautiful. It is all black in two color like we want it. The fuel tank's out, you guys seen that. Basically everything's bolted up, we're good to go. We figured out we're not getting fluid to the rear brakes because of the rubber hose in the back is plugged up. Basically it's probably shrunken because the rubber has been sitting in fluid so long, so not a big deal. I'm gonna get on jigs probably tonight and order some brake parts and stuff just so we can get that out of the way, the not so cool stuff. But I think it is time for me to finally start moseying on this wire harness. So I'm gonna set this up. We're gonna get some time lapse. I'm gonna strip all the loom off of it out here and clean as much of it up as I can out here before I take it inside. I still haven't decided. I'm most likely gonna have to do it inside because I need service for my laptop for stuff like that, and it is a little hot out here, so we'll see what I could do. I'm gonna try to get all the loom off so it's cleaned out here basically, so we're not tracking the stuff inside. But I'll set you up, I'll let you look, watch. It's not gonna be very exciting, but we're gonna do it. So, oh yeah. Well, we got a majority of the harness stripped down. I have yet to watch a video on how to do this yet, but I'm just assuming that we're just going to take out the stuff we don't need, of course, but the stuff I know for a fact that we do need, I just left the loom on it. This is the injector harness and stuff, the coil pack, and there's the ground wire. I'm going to assume we're going to need all that, so I didn't even unloom it. Same with this. This is the O2 sensor, and I think there's a couple extra plugs on here for a crank sensor maybe, and it goes down by the starter area and such. Might need that. I'm going to keep it on there just in case, because there's only like 5 or so connectors in there, and if we don't need one, I can easily take it out, you know, and eliminate it. The other harness that I did keep some loom on is the other side injector harness, which I think is also up there. But this right here is all the transmission stuff, and 90% of this stuff is going to get eliminated. So I'm not too sure, but I'm not too sure. I'm not going to need anything out of here since we're not doing any sort of fancy gauges. So this thing right here, all those wires can get taken out of that harness most likely and be gone. Same with these little guys. I think these are for like the brake module and stuff like that. We don't have that. It can go. So most of that stuff is gonna go, and I'm gonna do some research on videos, but I don't think it's gonna be too bad, which I know for a lot of people, wiring scares a lot of people. Like, I mean, GM did the hard part for me. All I gotta do is say, oh, I need this, cut it. Or, you know, oh, I need this, don't cut it. You know, so what's it matter? I think it'll be fine. There's plenty of people out there that have done it and have good luck, so hopefully we'll have good luck with it. And push come to shove, if we have to, we'll spend $500 on a, you know, a PSI harness or something for a regular old engine. But all the transmission stuff besides the speed sensor will come out, which this is the speed sensor wire. Pretty easy to tell. It's always green and purple, and they always twist them together. So I don't think it'll be hard to figure out most of the stuff, but we're gonna get it done. Right now, we're gonna get this disaster cleaned up. I gotta restring some fishing poles because I'm going fishing tomorrow for a little while. So we're gonna be out on the water up at Mark Twain Lake. It's just outside of Perry, Missouri, I think. But we were gonna head up there and go fishing. Maybe we'll get some cool footage for you, just some intro clips or something. It's supposed to get up there super early, so we'll be back on this tomorrow evening, hopefully. I might be able to pick up the shifter and whatever fuel pump assembly I think I figured out might work, but we're gonna get this place cleaned up and we'll be back, hopefully with nice fish to hang on the wall or something. So I've been watching a lot of fishing videos. I think I'm a very professional fisherman. Not really. So we're gonna see how it goes, but stay tuned. It's gonna be fun.